WWE Universe is having fun right now. I am too. This is something none of us thought we would ever see.
This is amazing.
There are a number of legendary superstars who have never met one-on-one inside a WWE ring. Matches such as Stone Cold vs. Brock Lesnar, Shawn Michaels vs. Eddie Guerrero, and Bret Hart vs. Kurt Angle all remain dream matches for fans, and most of them will unfortunately never happen. But there are certain matches that fans have always assumed have taken place at some point in time in WWE, but in reality, they have never taken place. Join us now as Wrestlelamia looks at 10 matches you wouldn't believe have never happened in WWE. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos, and follow us on Facebook for exclusive lists.
The only thing for sure about Sting is nothing's for sure.
You will rest in peace.
Number 10. Eddie Guerrero vs. Christian. Eddie Guerrero and Christian are two of the most gifted in-ring performers of all time. Both men have managed to win the top prize in WWE, and both men have managed to have some classic matches during their respective careers. Even though both men were active at the same time in WWE for over 5 years, never once did the two superstars meet one-on-one in a WWE ring. This was a huge missed opportunity for WWE, as the two would without a doubt have tremendous chemistry inside the squared circle. The closest fans ever got to see the two superstars compete against each other outside of tag matches was at the Backlash pay-per-view in 2001. Here, the two men would compete in a triple threat match alongside Matt Hardy for the European Championship. Number 9. Cesaro vs. Bray Wyatt. Cesaro and Bray Wyatt have been prominently featured on WWE programming over the past decade or so. Although Cesaro has had stop-start pushes, he has always had a place on the card. In relation to Bray, he's seemingly feuded with most of the top names in WWE, including John Cena, Daniel Bryan, The Undertaker, and even Brock Lesnar. What fans may be surprised to learn is that Cesaro and Bray Wyatt have never had a singles match during their time in WWE. Even though the two have never wrestled one-on-one, they did compete as rivals in a tag team match at the Greatest Royal Rumble pay-per-view in 2018. In the match, Cesaro would team with Sheamus to take on Bray, who was joining forces with Matt Hardy. This was the match which resulted in Bray and Matt winning the Raw Tag Team titles. Number 8. Umaga vs. The Undertaker. On paper, Umaga seems like the perfect rival for The Undertaker. Umaga would be able to match The Undertaker's speed, power, as well as size, and the two superstars would without a doubt have amazing chemistry in the ring. Sadly, the two never wrestled on WWE TV. The two actually wrestled at a live event in Chile. When Umaga was drafted to SmackDown in the summer of 2008, this presented WWE with the perfect opportunity to book the two big men against each other, but it just sadly never occurred. The only time the two men would be in the ring at the same time was at the 2008 Royal Rumble pay-per-view, where the two superstars had a brief interaction. Umaga vs. The Undertaker was certainly a feud that WWE should have looked into doing, as Umaga without a doubt would have become one of The Undertaker's most iconic rivals. Number 7. Kane vs. Brock Lesnar. When fans think of Kane and Brock Lesnar, they would assume that they've wrestled at some point in a one-on-one match on WWE programming, but this isn't the case. Although both men have been in WWE at the same time and even both shared the same brand during Lesnar's second run in WWE, WWE has failed to pair them up in a one-on-one match on WWE TV or pay-per-view. Nevertheless, the two have actually feuded during their time in WWE. In 2018, the two were involved in a feud alongside Braun Strowman, and during this time period, WWE would actually book Kane vs. Lesnar for live events. The matches were reportedly extremely short, with Kane getting little to no offense in. This would come to a climax at the 2018 Royal Rumble, where Lesnar defeated both Braun and Kane to retain the Universal title. Number 6. Seth Rollins vs. Jeff Hardy. Seth Rollins vs. Jeff Hardy is a certified dream match, and at one point in time, it looked destined to happen. However, it's unfortunately never taken place in a WWE ring. The closest we got to a 1 vs 1 match between the two former WWE champions was in October of 2020. This just so happened to be Rollins' last night on the Raw brand, and he would be confronted by Jeff along with AJ Styles. This resulted in an impromptu triple threat match taking place, a match which AJ would win. The match is still a potential matchup for WWE to book in the future. Although both men are on separate brands with Rollins on SmackDown and Jeff on Raw, the WWE draft is scheduled to take place in August of 2021, and this could finally convince WWE to pair the two superstars in a featured feud. Number 5. HBK vs. The Rock. Shawn Michaels and The Rock are two of the most iconic names in pro wrestling history. The Rock made his WWE debut in late 1996, and by this time, HBK was virtually the face of the company. Over the next 2 years, HBK and The Rock had 0 matches together, which is a massive shame, as the two would, without a doubt, have been incredible on-screen rivals. When The Rock became a huge star in the Attitude Era, he notably didn't want to work with HBK, citing that HBK was unprofessional and he simply didn't like him. Nevertheless, the only in-ring interactions the two have ever had was when HBK was the special guest referee for 2 of The Rock's matches with Triple H in 1999 and 2000 respectively.
It's over! Oh! What the hell? Shawn Michaels, the Super Kick, The Rock!
Number 4. Rey Mysterio vs. Jeff Hardy. Rey Mysterio vs. Jeff Hardy seems like an obvious dream match for WWE to book. Mysterio and Hardy have both been with the WWE on and off for 2 decades, and it would have made perfect sense for their paths to cross. On the surface, this seems like the easiest match in the world to book and market. 2 of the most celebrated high flyers in WWE history going one-on-one. However, WWE never booked the match or even ever remotely hinted at the two having any type of one-on-one encounter. The logical explanation of this is that they've both been babyfaces throughout their WWE careers, and WWE are often reserved in booking pure babyface versus babyface matches, so this could certainly be why. With both men still currently under full-time WWE contracts, there is a real possibility that the match could still take place, a move which would no doubt delight WWE fans across the world. Number 3. Triple H vs. Christian. Triple H vs. Christian is one of those matches where fans are sure it's happened at some point in time, but can't 100% recall when. In reality, the match has never taken place. Most of the interactions between the two superstars took place in 2011. This was when Triple H was the on-air authority figure and Christian was world champion, so naturally there would have been a lot of interactions there. What's even more interesting is that Triple H and Christian haven't even faced off in tag team competition. The duo have teamed together during the Attitude Era, but they have never once faced off against each other outside of Royal Rumble or Battle Royals. Triple H vs. Christian would have been a really intriguing matchup to see, especially when Christian was positioned as a main eventer during the second run of his career, and it's a shame that fans never got to see how the match would have unfolded. Number 2. John Cena vs. Kofi Kingston. With John Cena and Kofi Kingston being in WWE at the same time for way over a decade, you would assume that they have wrestled one-on-one at least once. However, this isn't the case. Although the two men have teamed together before, their only interaction as rivals was in a triple threat match in early 2010, alongside Randy Orton. This is the match which infamously derailed Kofi's push, as Kofi botched the finish of the match, which unfortunately upset Orton. Fans may also assume that Kofi and Cena wrestled one-on-one in 2015. If you recall, in 2015, Cena underwent the US title Open Challenge, an acclaimed time in Cena's career, and a period where he had some of the best matches ever seen on WWE TV. During this time period, Cena actually feuded with The New Day. However, Kofi would sadly never get a one-on-one shot against Cena, whereas Big E and Xavier Woods did. Number 1. Rey Mysterio vs. Triple H. You would think that Rey Mysterio vs. Triple H is surely a match which has happened at some point in WWE history, but unfortunately, it hasn't. Fans often confuse Rey and Triple H's extended interaction in the 2006 Royal Rumble for an actual one-on-one match. If you recall, both men were in the 2006 edition of the match for over an hour, meaning that their interactions dominated the entire match. Outside of the 2006 Royal Rumble, both men faced off as rivals at the Saturday Night's Main Event show in 2006. Here, Rey and Triple H would team up with their WrestleMania 22 opponents, as Rey would team with Kurt Angle and Randy Orton to take on Triple H and John Cena. Outside of these two instances, the two wrestling legends have had little to no interaction on screen. It's rather baffling to think that they've never wrestled one-on-one, and with Triple H virtually retired, it appears as if this match will never take place. But there you have it, folks, 10 matches you wouldn't believe have never happened in WWE. Be sure to leave your comments down below, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.